Men and abortion, what you don't know can hurt you. Coming up next on the Woman to Woman Show. Hi, I'm LouAnn. Welcome to the Woman to Woman Show. But as you might be able to notice, I've got some men with me today. I have got 4 gentlemen to introduce you to, and we are going to have a great discussion. On my left, you may remember, we have Graham Rintoul. We have Dr. Lawrence Johansen, Deacon Mike Caldwell, Dr. Jerry Snow. Welcome to the show. Gentlemen, we are here to talk to the people of Portland about something that just isn't talked about much these days in Portland and other places, and that's men and abortion. This has been talked about over and over and over as a woman's issue, and all of you are here to share a perspective on this subject, and I thank you so much for your willingness to share what you know and what you've observed and what you felt about abortion and its role in men. And we're going to just start at the end of the table with Graham, who is, we've had you before, and we're so grateful you're back. And for those people that may not have watched the show or you were on before, let's just start at the beginning and tell briefly your story and what your past experience with abortion is and why you're here.
Okay. Back in 1975, I was part of an abortion. And I was 22 and thought I knew pretty much everything at that time. Subsequent to the abortion, I didn't speak, think, talk about it for more than 30 years. And in 2007, I crashed. Everything came to the forefront, and I realized what I had done, what I had taken part in.
Was there a trigger of some sort?
There was a few things that happened at church, and one of the real interesting things that I still marvel at it was a prayer night. Our entire church was just in prayer, and the woman sitting next to me said, "Can I pray for you?" Now, I'd never met this woman. She didn't know me from anybody else in the 300 people that were there. And she said that she really felt this urgent need to pray for me.
Interesting.
And that's what started me down the path of looking into my abortion involvement, and through a number of different ways that then transpired over the next several weeks.
And how many people had you told up to that point?
At that point, 0.
No way.
0.
Just held it inside all that time.
So other than my partner, who of course knew, because she was the other half.
Right.
My first wife didn't know, my family didn't know, my second wife of then 18 years didn't know.
Oh my heavens.
And,
it's a big secret.
So a big secret. We put a lot of time and energy into keeping it a secret.
Did your parents know?
No. And I don't know if her parents know. No.
Oh, wow. That's pretty big
But that
secret.
started me down the road to say, I need to take ownership of this. I need to deal with it.
Okay.
And started down doing some research on the internet and found my way to 2 different recovery programs that were available here in Portland.
And I definitely want to talk about that further with you coming out of the other side of this recovery process, because I know you've got a lot to say about that.
Yep.
Okay, well, thank you. How about Lawrence?
Well, my story was when I was in training, residency for medicine in the late 80s. I had a young lady who was maybe 20, married, already had a less than 2-year-old child.
Wow.
And finds out she's pregnant again. And she came to me, she's just distraught because they're very poor. And she goes, I can't afford this. We just can't afford it. And I'm thinking about having an abortion. And so I said, well, I don't think anybody would blame you for having an abortion, and you'll get over it, and it's, went through that whole shtick. Well, she came and saw me not long after she had had this abortion and was just distraught. It just almost inconsolable. And I don't remember seeing her after that, and it sort of stuck with me, and I worked on it over the next 10 years.
Wow. Until
I was able to counsel another couple, young married couple, got pregnant before they were ready for it, came to ask me, we're thinking of having an abortion, what do you think? And I said, I think you will always regret it.
Really?
Yes, and there's a 10-year-old girl out there, just a beautiful child who they decided to keep it. And so I know you can't make amends for past mistakes, but at least I thought
you had a different answer that time.
A different answer and a better one.
So what did it do to you throughout the years that you reflected on that first girl?
Not a whole lot, other than just saying, I wished I would have, as a physician, given better advice to somebody who was wanting to feel better, both emotionally and physically. And I just felt that as a physician, I shouldn't have encouraged the taking of life. It wasn't until I went to one of these recovery programs, and that was my reason for going, that it hit me pretty hard during that weekend.
Wow.
And a very nice catharsis.
Yeah.
I don't feel as guilty now about the whole thing as I did before.
Well, I think that's important for your going forward with your role as a physician, and obviously that was definitely the right thing to do. And so you did the same retreat, the Rachel's Vineyard retreat.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. So, and we're going to talk about the other program that you really recommend too. So that's great. So that was. Did you go at the same time or different?
No,
different weekends.
Different time, yeah.
Okay, but you
I
both
met him
did
when he was there for his first, and my wife had she cooks for them.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and so I tried to come by and help her, and I met Graham and chatted with him at that time. That's how we got to meet.
Oh wow, that is great that was the right timing for you to do that, and I want to hear more about what you experienced there too. Yeah. And moving to this end of the table, we're not going to forget about you, Deacon Mike.
Yes.
What brought you to this subject and its effect?
It was very similar to Graham's story. As a matter of fact, we were on the same weekend together at Rachel's Vineyard. Yeah. And it was over 35 years ago, my girlfriend came to me and said that I'm pregnant and I'll take care of it. And so I didn't say a word, because I think at that time I was pretty ignorant about life in the womb and a lot of things like that.
Were you high school age, college age?
Oh, I'm sorry. I was early 20s.
Okay.
Yeah.
Early 20s.
And so I'm thinking, at the time, well, great, so take care of it. That's nothing that's off my shoulders now, right? So.
And it was long past Roe v. Wade being passed, of course.
Right. So that's 37 years ago. And I just buried it all these years, just like Graham, and just keeping it inside. And it was just recently, then the last 3-4 years, then I started feeling the effects of it. And for me, it was my relationship with God, because it was just not right, and it was stifling that relationship. My spirituality was stifled. I could not move forward. I was in the formation program for the diaconate, and I had to go deeper.
Really?
And and it was preventing me from going deeper. It was something there was stopping me, and what is that? And finally, I told my priest, and he says, "Oh, well, I know what it is. Just go to Rachel's Vineyard weekend. You'll figure it out." So through that Rachel's Vineyard weekend, I figured it out and was able to address that issue. And then it did hit me hard that weekend too.
Oh, of course.
And so then I realized that I have a daughter, and I was part of her murder. So.
Wow.
So it was hit pretty hard.
That is pretty hard. And at the time that you weren't talking about it, that it was buried, who else knew?
Nobody.
No. Nobody. And not your parents, not. Do you know if your girlfriend's parents ever knew?
No,
or?
no, nobody knew.
Yeah. Oh, wow. That's the kind of secret that does damage, doesn't it? That we know now, and that's probably pretty typical, as you've probably found out. It's pretty typical to bury those things.
Yes.
Yeah.
For men more so than women.
Oh, yeah. I can imagine. Okay. Well, that's important. This journey, and you have a story about being a physician also in your experience.
Yes, I do. Actually, initially though, my being here tonight is because of my friendship with Graham. We've known each other the last couple of years through our church, Calvary Chapel Southeast, and attended a home fellowship together and getting to know Graham better and better through this time. We began to have discussions at men's retreats regarding everything that he was going through. And just sort of talking about, it made me think about my involvement as a physician. Yeah. I sit back somewhat ashamed thinking where I started, going back to the early 70s when I was going to undergraduate school. And at that time, I think like most of us, we believed in the woman's right to choose, because that was. They
never say choose what, right? They just
correct.
Love those.
But
those
it seemed very correct at that time. And even although personally, as a Christian at that time, I did not believe that personally. I thought, well, it seems right that a woman has the right to choose. But it was a very naive thought. I didn't understand my own faith. I didn't understand really what I believed. And fortunately, through my 20s and more so through my 30s, really firming that up, what I believe and what I believe God feels about the issue of abortion, it really helped me define where I'm at today. I've watched my practice over the last few years, and I think I'm much more emphatic. I'm much more willing to share the truth with people. Whereas back 20 years ago, not so much. I'd present the option saying, Dr. Johansen, same thing. I wish I'd been more direct with people, saying, I believe this is going to hurt you if you make this decision.
Yeah.
I would often share I don't necessarily agree with your decision, but unfortunately it wasn't really saying there are other ways to do this. You're going to regret this decision.
It wasn't talked about.
It wasn't talked about.
No.
And now 20 years later, I see the impact on my patients and families and my friend and what it has done to lives. And from here forth, I'm planning to be very direct.
And you talked about seeing people present with other symptoms, depression, and of course we've got eating disorders. It's at your doors, I'm sure, all the time. And do you know or have strong feelings sometimes that an abortion is behind some of this?
As a family physician, not trying to be an expert in mental health issues, you're always looking for what's the trigger. Why is this person here experiencing severe anxiety or a panic disorder or true post-traumatic type of issues?
Yeah.
Why are they here? And that seems to be the key, is to be able to unlock those issues to help them heal.
Right.
Otherwise, if you don't find the trigger, they likely will never heal completely.
Well, those are wise words, and we want to help everyone out there find the trigger so that they can heal. And mostly, we're going to take a break now, and then I want to come back, and I want your advice to the young men listening out there right now that may be about to make an important decision on abortion, a decision that will change their lives forever. And we hope it's the right decision for life, and we're going to tell them why when we come back, okay? So hang on, and we'll be right back.
Hello, I'm Dr. Alveda King, uniting the dream of civil rights and moral rights for abundant living. I want to talk to you today about life. If you've had an abortion, seek help today. And if you're thinking about having an abortion, please contact those organizations right here in Portland who will help you through this crisis and help you to choose life. Abortion is devastating. The consequences are long-lasting. The choose to support life is good for you and good for your community. Thank you.
Welcome back to the Woman to Woman Show. We're talking about men and abortion. And I want to talk about now the healing programs that are available for men out there, whether they have an abortion experience in their past or know somebody that does. And these programs are for men and women now, is that right? And I know we have all kinds of choices out there, and a couple of you did Rachel's Vineyard, and we're going to talk about that. And Graham, why don't you start talking about another program that you experienced also?
Sure. The one I took actually second was called Healing a Father's Heart. And it's available here in Portland. It's presented to a all-male group, whereas the companion, called Forgiven and Set Free, is presented to all women.
Oh, got it.
So it's basically the same program. It's offered over a 12 or 10-week, one night a week, with fairly substantial Bible study in between the weeks.
Okay.
And it is a Bible-oriented program. It goes into things like anger issues that we keep inside, and the guys do that really well. Characteristics of God and why He wants us to admit and confess our sin. And then the healing that goes on after the fact. And there's quite a number of processes that go on in that X many weeks. The two programs themselves were actually written by the same author, Linda Cochran.
Oh, yeah.
And it's provided in town by the Portland Pregnancy Resource Centers.
So they have all the information
Right.
of when the next one's coming up, or
Exactly.
how to get started.
Yeah, they have one particular phone number, which is 503-22, and the word HEART, H-E-A-R-T.
And we're going to run that on the screen. That's easy.
And when you call that number, they know why you're calling. You want to find out about healing after an abortion trauma.
How easy was it to make that call?
Actually, I didn't make the call. I was lucky enough to have the facilitator be a member of our church.
Oh,
so he told me
wow.
about it.
Yeah.
He was probably the second person that ever found out about my story.
Wow.
So I keep thinking, I should make that call just to say I know what it's like to make that call. But the call I made to go to Rachel's Vineyard, which was actually the first program I experienced, was a very similar kind of call.
Exactly. It's just taking that first step
Right.
of, I'm saying this out loud.
Making the acknowledgement, I did this, and now I need to deal with it, and the healing that goes on after the fact, the dealing with the grief, the shame, the guilt, whatever that each of us carries, is the subject of all of those programs.
Did you find after you went through the healing program that there was a change inside of you and a change in how you were able to relate to other people?
In the certainty of what we're doing tonight, being here, I would never have thought that that was going to be in my future.
Yeah.
I've had now the option 3 times on your show and at least twice on an in-town radio show to present this message.
Yeah.
So my work with attempting to get the word out, especially to the men, not that the women don't need to hear it, but I like to present it that women seem to be smarter about this subject. They realize they've got a need.
I don't know.
The guys don't want to own up to the fact. We don't ask for directions of how to get down the block to target.
That's right. That's a good
for
point.
For us to hear that message and to hear it from another man,
it's better.
Is the important way forward for them.
Yeah, I think you're right. Okay. Well, I think that it's great. There's more than one type of help out there for whatever suits you.
Exactly.
Lawrence, will you talk about what someone can expect going on a Rachel's Vineyard retreat? What's it, without giving away all the secrets that are important to have happen on, in their version, but what if someone says, what's it like? What will I experience?
It's very intense because as opposed to one night a week for 10 weeks, this is about 48 hours of intense.
You go on a Friday night and
it starts off Friday evening and finishes in
Sunday
afternoon.
Okay.
And they have various exercises that help us realize what is happening. But what struck me was the spirituality and the healing.
Yeah.
Knowing that I was forgiven.
Yeah.
And they have us carry this rock around until we're ready to get rid of it all weekend.
Of course.
And everybody had different times when they would put that rock on the table. It made you realize, how long you're holding on to this thing, sometimes out of pride. And it was interesting. I thought that when I first got there, some of the women looked at me askance.
Yeah.
They resented me being there.
Yeah.
But at the end of the retreat, it's, this one particular woman, she confessed to me that she was very upset that a man was there, and she, after seeing what I went through, she was glad to have known me and to have shared that experience with me.
So it's high octane.
Oh yeah.
Forgiveness here.
Oh,
yeah. Did anyone go home with a rock?
Not that I know of.
Okay.
Not that I know of.
That's pretty good. That's pretty good. I think that's important that you have your difference of, a weekend of just, really, really high level, important stuff going on.
And I know that there is some follow-up if people need some, because there was one individual in our group that just couldn't be forgiven. And
just having a longer
there was
road.
follow-up. The facilitators followed up with this individual, and I had asked several weeks later how it was going. They said it's still pretty tough.
Still
This
tough.
individual just couldn't accept.
Yeah. Takes longer.
Forgiveness,
Well,
but
we're not machines.
That was that's right. So
We're not
they do a
machines.
nice job of following.
Yeah.
up.
Well, that's good to know, because you want to be with people you can trust for anything like this. And Mike, how about your experience? What would you say about it?
Well, they also, when I was there as a man, many of them are surprised to see a man there, because they do feel like they need that time as a group of women to heal, and they think, well, you're the enemy.
Oh, yeah.
And
yeah.
so,
because, of the situation with.
But then actually, after you start sharing, a man starts sharing the pain they have inside of them, then they see that man sharing that pain, and they may not have seen that with their own experiences, And so they see a man and say, well, yeah, I guess men do have pain in this issue, and they can be forgiven. And so I think that it was very helpful for them to see that. Then also, when we have a role play sometimes, they really want that man to be in there, because then they see they have this, usually a man in their life that's caused the pain, and they like to see that man face to face, and you sit in for that man, and then that's very helpful for them too.
Yeah,
it's tough. I did that myself. I was the role player, and they really, like the darts at me were really going, so I could really feel the anger they had, and so I just I stood it, and it was really helpful for her though to get that out though. It was really good. And
yeah, I think that. There's probably so much that it gets accomplished in these programs that it's got to be divine inspiration for whoever designed these. They knew, don't you think? It has to be.
No
How could it not be? But Jerry, just with your perspective now on this topic, do you have people that now realize that you're helping talk about this and helping men, be aware of this, or do people ask you, why are you doing this? Why are you talking about abortion?
Well, not as many as I wish would.
Really?
That's a personal conviction.
Yeah.
I need to own up to that. That's a responsibility I have. I will say, as I'm listening to each of you share, as a primary care physician, currently in the United States, over 90% of the medications prescribed for mental health problems are prescribed by family practice, internal medicine doctors, not by psychiatrists. And so a person who presents, say, with the issues of, like in Graham's case particularly, maybe 25, 30 years of suppressing all these feelings, and comes in often with, whether it's PTSD or depression or anxiety.
And explain what PTSD is.
Well, post-traumatic stress disorder, which is it's a very large, involved diagnosis. But they come into their primary care doctor expecting to be treated for this. And we do. We prescribe lots of the common medications we're aware of for depression and for anxiety and for insomnia. These medicines are all household
on and on, doesn't
words.
It? It's pretty common to.
I think what you shared was that I can't prescribe a pill for forgiveness.
Oh.
I can't do that. And that's what these men need.
They're yearning for something that medicine cannot give
provide. Now, not that we don't have, once we're aware of the of some of the underlying issues. We can certainly get qualified mental health individuals involved, and even then, it may more of conventional, even counseling may not get to the root of the issue of saying, I need to be assured that I'm forgiven of what I did. Otherwise, I will likely die that way, feeling unforgiven. And I heard you all say that. To me, that's where these kind of programs, I think, would have to be essential for a man to know, yes, I can go to my doctor appropriately for medication, but I can be healed spiritually. My actual soul can be forgiven once and for all.
And well, it goes without saying, doesn't it, to you as physicians, that emotional distress comes out physically and can and will. Absolutely. Almost, you can say?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. So this is something that you do not only for your spiritual healing, your emotional healing, but for your physical life. Is that right?
Ultimately, yes.
That you need to address something that bothers you that much. And does it do any good to say to yourself, nothing's wrong, nothing's wrong, nothing's wrong? Does that do any good? To say the words and surround yourself with people that say, there's nothing to that's nothing bad.
It's sort of like the person who gets a lump growing somewhere and they just say, well, it's not sticking on my clothes yet, so I'll just leave it alone. And just ignore it. And they come in, you got cancer. Why didn't you do anything? Well, I was afraid it would be cancer.
So it does zero good to pretend.
Yeah.
Your body won't undo the damage, or it won't heal.
Well, we use the term time will heal everything. That's not necessarily true.
Oh.
That's not necessarily true. There are some things, like in Graham, 30 years later.
Yeah.
And 35 years later.
Oh. God.
Time didn't heal it, obviously.
No. You're right.
In some cases, you became worse over time.
Ooh, you can be. Well, we've only got a minute left, and so will you guys hang around so we can do another show? Keep talking? Sure. Okay, good. Briefly, I just want to throw something out there to somebody listening right now, and maybe they're 18, 19 years old, and their girlfriends come to them and said, let's get an abortion. What do you want to say to that man, that boy, whatever, listening right now?
The thing I would say is, this is not something you can rewind, do over, change your mind later. So if there's any hint of, I don't think this is a good idea, but I'm going to let her talk me into it, don't go there.
Don't go there.
Don't go there.
I agree with Graham. It's once it's done, it's done. Can't put them back together again.
Can't bury it.
And you cannot change the effect on your relationship. Your relationship with the man and woman that have that abortion, their relationship will be eternally distorted.
Yeah.
The woman's right to choose, is that real or not? Remember, this young man, this is your baby, too. You are the father of this child.
Healing a man's heart. That's what we're going to talk about more. And I thank you all for coming and talking about this issue that just isn't talked about. Abortion hurts men, and we hope that everybody says no to abortion if you're out there. And I thank you so much. And hopefully we'll get to keep talking